You know, Lord willing, we're all going to get there one day, retirement. And the question is not if, but what will that retirement look like? Will we have a plan in place that allows us to really enjoy that last phase of our lives? Or will we end up struggling to make ends meet and not be a burden on our kids? Well, Chris Hogan is committed to giving you that plan that's going to help you live your retirement dreams. Today, we're recapping his advice from the last few episodes of the One Simple Thing podcast.
It's time to build a better business by building a better you. This is One Simple Thing.
Glad to have you guys with me today. I'm Dave Kirby, and we, as I just mentioned, are going to be recapping my last few conversations with Chris Hogan. He's just released his new book. It's called Retire Inspired. It's not an age, it's a financial number, and he's got some really solid financial advice to help us make the plans now that will benefit us later. Check out his website, too. He's got his Retire Inspired Quotient Calculator that will help you figure out how much money you're going to need to live the kind of lifestyle you want to live when you're retired. You can find a link to that on today's show notes. Also, you can get a copy of his book. Click on the link when you go to the website at onesimplethingonline.com. Let's get right into it here. Chris told us on episode 386 that the first step in any sort of retirement plan is to dream. And I'm thinking it's like any goal, and we've learned a lot about setting goals on this show. We have to know what we want before we can make a plan on how to get there.
Well, I just think it's so important for us to understand the power of our dreams. Like, we all have things down inside of us that we want to do, whether it's mission trips or whether it's giving back in our community or things we want to do for our families or even ourselves. I think it's important to tap into that because dreams are more of a motivator than fear. Like, fear will motivate you for a little while, but it doesn't last. Why? Because it's a negative drag on us. But our dreams are an encouraging kind of motivation. These are things that we know we want to do, and so we're willing to strive and sacrifice for it because we know deep down inside of us what we want to do.
So how do we start dreaming? How do we start laying out that plan and saying, okay, this is what I want to accomplish, and this is how I'm going to get there?
Well, I think the most important thing is to do what you just said, Dave, which is to sit down and actually spend time thinking about that, or maybe get it out and put it on paper. And if you're married, I want you to sit down and dream together with your spouse. Now, this is a crucial step because, see, we can get so busy with kids and careers and life that we can end up almost like business partners with our spouses instead of being best friends. And so I want you to share your dream with your spouse so you can hear their dream and you can kind of unite. Now, if you're single or newly single, I don't want you to go it alone either. I want you to connect with an accountability partner, someone that loves you enough to encourage you and to help you stay on track.
First step is the dream, and then the commitment to achieve that dream. Sometimes those things don't necessarily go hand in hand. You got to be intentional if that's going to happen. On episode 387, we talked about how the landscape of retirement is changing for all of us. Some of the programs and resources that we used to count on might not be there much longer, especially if you're younger, right? So there's not a moment to waste in putting together a plan for our retirement.
Back in the good old days, as I like to call them, you had these things called pensions. And this is where companies, you didn't have to worry about putting money away for your future. Companies took care of it for you. And so that's not the case nowadays. Nowadays, we have the 401ks and 403bs, which means if you don't put money away, you won't have any to spend later. And so people have to kind of re-engage with this and look at it, because there's one thing I don't want people doing in the best years of their lives. And that's waking up to work another 8 to 12-hour shift on a job they don't love.
And that's where a lot of us are headed, unfortunately, if we don't take the time now to stop and plan. And I love, you said this at the end of the last episode, is that, don't look back. Don't look at what you haven't done in the past. Let's start with today. Let's figure out what you need to do from this day forward. And just honestly and frankly, Chris, if we haven't planned till now and we're 40 or 50 years old, it's going to take a little extra sacrifice to kind of catch up, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. And regardless of where you are, you still have an opportunity, like you said, to get better. And if you are in your late 40s or early 50s and you haven't done anything, it's going to take some extra work. The dream may look a little bit different. But here's the deal. If we can engage with where we are right now and start to take some steps in the right direction, the dream can look better. Maybe you don't get to do everything that you wanted to do, but at least you get to do some things. And that's what I want people to hang their hat on. We're such an all or nothing society where if we can't have it all, then we don't want to do nothing. And I don't want people focusing that way, because I've talked to enough people that are in their late 60s that wish they could go back in time and tell the younger version of themselves to sit up and look up and really engage in this process, because little steps can have a major impact as long as we're taking the right steps.
Little steps, consistent steps, and the right steps. Those are the secret to success in just about anything, right? In our business, in our personal lives, and certainly in our retirement as well. Chris taught us about some major obstacles that could derail us from reaching the retirement of our dreams. Most of them are really more of mindsets that we create ourselves that we can also overcome ourselves with a little intentional action.
The big ones are misunderstanding retirement. I think a lot of people look at the word retirement and they think that it's the end. But if we step back and start to really look at this, you start to realize it's a beginning of doing more of the things that your heart wants to do. It's a period of time that is not just a 5-year thing, but retirement can actually be a 20 to 25-year thing. And so pulling back and seeing that for what it is an eye-opener. Another obstacle is depending on Social Security. I think a lot of people out there look at Social Security as this thing that's going to save the day. And in digging down into doing my research, I realized the average Social Security payout right now is around $16,000 per year. So that means we're talking around $1,333 per month. Now, I don't know what your listeners' dreams are, but I can pretty much guarantee that there's no one out there that could live their dream off of $1,333 per month. And so we don't want to see Social Security as the superhero saving the day. I want people to look at it more like the icing on the cake, that if it is there and you do get it, great, but we're not going to count on it. We're not going to put the future of our family in the hands of a government that's proven time and time again that it struggles to count. The third obstacle is acting like sheep. Now, I know that sounds odd because people say, what do you mean sheep, Chris? Well, I did research on sheep, and here's what I found out, Dave. Sheep are not the smartest animals on the planet.
I've heard that.
They do. They wander off. They go all over the place. That's why they have to have a herder, somebody to keep them in line and keep them connected. That's why he has that long staff to pull them back when they try to wander off. Well, unfortunately, a lot of us out there can be like sheep. We can see this new shiny or this thing, and we can take our eyes off the prize, take our eyes off the goal, and then the next thing you know, we look up and we've wandered off the plan. So I want people to be more intentional. Don't be a sheep, be focused. And then the final one, the one that's not as obvious, is simply number 4, which is not having a plan. We've all heard Zig Ziglar say that if you don't have a plan, you can fall for anything. But I think having a plan for our retirement, for our future, to the most crucial time in our lives is so very important. And that's why I wrote the book Retire Inspired, because I wanted people to be able to plug in and engage with a plan.
And don't forget, you can go to our website to pick up a copy of Chris's book. Also, take advantage of the free resources on his website. And you can find the link to the website and also the link to the book when you go to onesimplething.online.com. On episode 389, Chris talked about our number one enemy when we think about our retirement, and that's debt. Debt is going to tie our hands behind our backs, not be able to put the resources we need to away to plan for the future. He gave us some advice on how to overcome that obstacle of debt and begin putting that retirement plan in place and in action.
There are several steps people can take. I would encourage people, once you're doing that, I want you to sit down with an investment professional. I want you to find somebody with the heart of a teacher that you can sit down and they can review your 401k if you have it, or your 403b if you work for a nonprofit or a school, and let them see how you're currently invested. Let them see your past IRA statements or 401ks from older jobs, and we can start to put all these funds on a plan. We can start to have an understanding of how do we want to invest? What's our risk tolerance? What's the time frame in which you plan to retire? The one thing I don't want people to do is with investing is to try to go it alone. So you need to find people with the heart of a teacher. And Dave, here's what I mean. Someone with the heart of a teacher, they're there to help you, not to sell you stuff. You know, we've all been around the salesperson that's trying to just get us to buy, and they're not really concerned with our needs or our wants. But when you connect with somebody with the heart of a teacher, they care about you. They want you to be successful. Those are the kinds of people that I want your audience to connect with. And I guide them through that on my website as well as in the book.
And again, the book is called Retire Inspired. It's not an age, it's a financial number. You can find the link to that book. There's a banner ad right on the right-hand side of the page when you go to OneSimpleThingOnline.com. Also, we have the link to Chris's website in the show notes for today's episode 390. Again, that's at OneSimpleThingOnline.com. Really grateful for Chris Hogan taking time out of his busy schedule to join us on this week's programs, and hopefully it will help you get an edge on planning for your retirement as well. As always, would love to know what you think of the program. You want to email me. My email address is dave@OneSimpleThingOnline.com. That's with the number 1 in there, dave@OneSimpleThingOnline.com. I always check and respond to my own email, so would love to hear from you. Also, if you do me a favor, leave us a rating and review. If you enjoy the program, that's a way you can give back. It helps us rise up on the iTunes charts. We have a special page set up with a link for you. Just go to OneSimpleThingOnline.com, click on Support the Show in the top menu, and you've got your link right there to be able to leave us a rating and review. Sure appreciate it. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being with me today on the One Simple Thing podcast, and I'll see you next time.